Alumni. I'm Ashley Butler, a partner in our capital markets practice based in New York. I'm excited to host this edition of the Weil Alumni Interview Series featuring my friend Jennifer Johnson. Jen is Managing Director and Associate General Counsel at Nuveen, a TIAA company. Nuveen's a global investment leader managing an array of public and private assets for clients around the world and on behalf of their parent company, TIAA, which is one of the world's largest institutional investors. Jen began her career here at Weil as an associate in our structured finance and derivatives and real estate practices. Jen and I were also summer associates together at Weil. Jen, thank you so much for joining us, and congrats again on your recent promotion to MD.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So to begin, congrats again on your promotion. We'd love it if you could tell us a little bit about what your elevated role at Nuveen entails and what drew you to this work.
Sure. So I started here covering primarily our structured finance team, our CLO, specific issuer. But over time, the role has changed a little bit. So now I'm leading a group, which is fantastic, that covers most of our public fixed income strategies. So everything from ABS, emerging markets, CPACE, CLOs, high yield, leverage loans, convertibles, and special situations.
Mm.
So it's been fantastic. I think one of the things that really drew me to the role is the breadth of it. I am one of those people who, if I won the lottery, would go back to school for the rest of my life. So it's really great to just be in a position where I get to be a lifelong learner and take those lessons and see them add immediate value.
That's awesome. And it really sounds like you're covering like a wide array of different offerings, which is huge.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been super interesting.
So what successes at Nuveen are you most proud of?
So I'll give you two. One is sort of a high level. The breadth of this role is really one of the things that I've had to learn to expand into, and I'm really proud of how I've handled that expansion. So, it's really hard going from being a senior associate, feeling like you've got pretty much everything in your space down pat, and then having to start over as someone who felt pretty comfortable in their career. So I'm proud of myself for how I handled that. One specific thing I'm really proud of is, one of the teams that I support here that was a big expansion for me is our PACE platform. And it's a property assessed clean energy. So I had no idea what this was when I started. And it's a really new and growing area. And we're spitballing, kicking around ideas for different ways to fundraise and capital raise so we could continue to promote this clean energy strategy. And a small group of us kind of got together, built a structure that was the first of its kind, not only for Nuveen, but also the first of its kind in the PACE industry. And we had a lot of people who had some skepticism, but almost through like sheer force of will, we were able to pull it off spectacularly. And it was just really great to be part of such a cohesive and, collaborative team.
That's amazing. Great segue into our next question, which was related to Nuveen's commitment to revolutionizing responsible investing. And I know Nuveen has recently made more of a focus on ESG and impact investing. How do you see this trend, moving forward across the industry over the next few years?
Yeah, we definitely have. And it's something that I didn't even really know about Nuveen when I started. So it was like a happy surprise. And I'm lucky that I get to support some of the teams that are at the forefront of revolutionizing ESG and responsible investing. I think there's a lot of demand in Europe. So that's going to be interesting over the next couple of years. A lot of the opportunities come from different jurisdictions. So we're really going to have to focus on cross-border structuring work. I think we're going to see a lot of innovation, new strategies, new types of products. And it's really going to take a multidisciplinary approach in order to achieve scale to see the types of impacts that we would like to make.
That's so interesting. So it sounds like it has to be work led by cooperation across many different departments, many different teams, in order to achieve the goals there.
Yeah, I think it does. And we're looking at a couple of multidisciplinary strategies right now that are all built from impact investing across different asset classes. So I think there's a real opportunity there.
That's great. So switching gears a bit, So for other lawyers who might be interested in making a transition to in-house work, particularly, lawyers at Weil or lawyers in private practice, are there any steps or skills you would recommend to them to be best positioned to make that transition into in-house?
I think, one of the things that you hear a lot about, but it's sometimes easy to forget, is how important relationships are. And I think Weil does a tremendous job of maintaining alumni relationships, and building a big alumni base, but also fostering cross-disciplinary relationships within the firm. When I started looking to go in-house, I had the good fortune of working with the TIAA team. So that was a much easier way to start looking at coming in-house than to be cold applying on, different websites or working with a recruiter.
Yeah.
All of the jobs that I was considering were sourced through relationships that I'd made in the market over the years. And we all do very high stress jobs, but I think it's important to remember how valuable these relationships can be in the long run. And we all hope that they will be, long-term relationships. I think the other thing that Weil does a great job at that is really important when you come in-house is, taking opportunities to work outside of your comfort zone. I think when I was at Weil, I was able to work with almost every single practice group. I wasn't the subject matter expert on every different type of transaction. I came in because of my structured knowledge or real estate or derivatives. But it was, really eye-opening to get exposure at an early time in my career to all of these different types of transactions, different types of work, different ways of thinking about the business. And I think it's really important when you get in-house, a lot of the roles are going to be a lot more broad-based, and you're going to be expected to be a bit more of a generalist. So taking those opportunities while you have them at Weil and learning as much as you can, I think is invaluable.
That is such great advice on both counts. It's apparent to me as I go along in my career just how important relationships are. You encounter the same people over and over and over, and I think the same lesson applies to your role at Weil. Even as a junior associate, making sure that you're building up a reputation for yourself within the firm. That you treat everyone with respect. You really understand how their roles work. It can really serve you well down the line. So that's two great pieces of advice. Just thinking back to your time at Weil, this kind of goes with what you were just saying, but are there any lessons that you learned that you still carry with you today?
Yeah, I think Weil really prepared me for cross-disciplinary thinking, probably because I had so many opportunities to work across different areas.
Mhm.
But, a lot of these areas, you look at the list of things that I cover and it sounds like, oh my gosh, those are so different. But a lot of the underpinnings are the same. And when you're able to do cross-disciplinary work, especially from a young age in your career, I think you're really able to see the big picture in a way that you may not if you're just mired in the same types of transactions over and over. And that allows you to build outside of the box thinking, which becomes very important when you're in an in-house role and you're starting to talk about how are we going to structure these things? How are we going to take this business to the next level? How are we going to differentiate ourselves in a crowded market? Things like that.
Mhm.
It's a space where I think lawyers can add value. Obviously the business is driving the returns, the market, all of the, interactions with investors and things like that, but we can add value behind the scenes in helping to develop new products and new approaches to differentiate ourselves.
That makes complete sense. With March being Women's History Month, we often hear great advice as it relates to speaking to your younger self. Is there any guidance that you have that you would share with like a younger Jen?
I feel like I have a lot of guidance for younger Jen. Maybe
I have a
don't
lot of things to say to younger Ashley as well. So
don't order cheese fries for dinner. Actually, I think when you're first starting out, I came straight through. So my first job was at Weil. And that's a lot of pressure. I think there's a lot of pressure to excel. There's a lot of pressure to be perfect. Most lawyers are type A. I'm no exception. And I think that was a little bit overwhelming for me when I first started. And I had to take a step back and look at myself and kind of say, okay, look, there are things in this situation you can control, and there are things that you can't. You can't control, whether or not you have the special sauce that makes you great at this job. You can't control how quickly you learn this, extremely complex area of law that you for some reason chose. What you can control is your attitude, how much effort you put in, how much you try to learn things on your own and dig in and sort of roll up your sleeves. And for me, that became sort of my comfort zone. And I think one thing I would say to younger Jen is just keep doing that. Like, it's going to be okay. You're going to get there. You're going to learn the things that you need to learn. You're going to figure it out. It just takes a little bit of time and patience with yourself. And I think it's easy for us to forget that because we're also high achieving.
Yeah, totally agree. And I also went straight through, and starting at a job like Weil as your first kind of real job is really, it's quite a jump from undergrad and law school, especially when you are kind of like thrown into the deep end of these transactions that are quite complicated. People have been doing this for their entire careers, and then you're kind of there just trying not to sink. And I think that's great advice. Just kind of keep at it, learn everything you can. You are soaking up more than you realize, I think, especially those, that first year. So it's really good advice just to keep on keeping on. So while Nuveen and a lot of other preeminent workplaces are committed to employee well-being, as you obviously know, how do you maintain balance, especially as the parent of a toddler?
That's like the $1 million question, right?
It really is.
You will know this soon.
Definitely.
I like that I like that people talk about this. I like that it's sort of become something you even have to talk about now. I don't truthfully love the idea of maintaining balance because in my mind, that conjures up like a balance beam, right? This idea that there is this, like, you can get into this nirvana where you have perfect symmetry between your work life and your home life. And that's just it's not realistic. I think for
wouldn't it be
me,
great? But yeah.
great. It sounds great. Like if I can just figure out the right mix, then it'll be fine. I won't have to worry about it. But for me, it's really much more of an ebb and a flow. There are days where I have to prioritize a little bit more work. There are days where I have to prioritize a little bit more home things. My daughter just started a new school, so have to make sure that I'm a little bit more available to give her some of that comfort and consistency that she's looking for. I think that having a supportive partner makes a big difference, approaching everything as a team. And working in an environment where people understand that, you bring your whole self to work, right? Which means that things don't necessarily stay outside of the office. You bring the best of yourself, but that also means that there are going to be days where you need to step out a little bit early because you've got something else going on. And I'm fortunate to have a tremendous, team here, both supporting me and supporting the fixed income platform and also in the broader legal team, where we're encouraged to make sure that, we are finding time for both areas of our life. So I wish I had like some secret for everyone, but I think it really is just kind of finding ways to carve out that time when you can. We in my family try to prioritize dinner time. So we try to make sure that we're all sitting down as much as you can get a 4-year-old to sit down for dinner together and making sure that we're not checking email during that time. And I think just that small break makes a big difference.
I think that's a really great perspective. I was talking to a colleague the other day about the idea of balance, and it's exactly as you were saying, that balance kind of conjures this like, okay, well, each day it's divided into, this many sections and every day hits the exact same thing. And I think a more realistic way of looking at it, kind of as you were saying, is zooming out a little bit more, and that like not every single day is going to hit that balance. Like some days are going to be a lot more weighted to the family life. Some days are going to be a lot more weighted to work and work demands, but balance in the sense of, hopefully at the end of the month, you can take kind of an accounting and say, at the end of the month, it's like I'm striking a balance, or at the end of this quarter or year or any other metric that kind of hopefully it comes out in the wash, even though that, some days are going to be weighted more towards one or the other. And also it's really wonderful to hear that you have a team, that's supportive of you, and hopefully I'm sure that goes both ways, that you can be supportive to them, like when they have commitments outside of the office that are taking some of their time. So totally agree with all of that. That's really great to hear.
Yeah.
So Jen, thanks again for making the time to participate in this interview. It's really fantastic to have had the chance to catch up with you. Obviously, you continue to make the Weil family proud, and we wish you the very best in your promotion and all your future successes.
Thank you, Ashley. It was great to catch up with you.
Weil alumni, thanks for tuning in, and please be on the lookout for any future offerings.